Hello, my name is Tim Sparks. I'm a business psychologist specialising in assessment for selection, development, high potential identification, future lead. Do you know what? I've done this spiel so many times. I think I'm going to start my introduction again. Hi, my name's Tim Sparks. I nurture people to help them find greater clarity in their work. I do this by developing innovative methods to help people understand their strengths and their preferences and their development areas. What I do is I'm a business psychologist that designs and delivers assessment. And for those who know Simon Sinek's very famous TED Talk, I started with the emotion in that second introduction and worked my way through to the what. And that's the emotional connection that you have when you start with the why. Most organizations, well, almost every organization knows what they do. They provide services or products. Few organizations know how they do it in terms of where they source their ingredients or their materials from, but few organizations can articulate their why. And that why is their purpose. And please don't understand purpose as making profit. That's actually a byproduct. The question is, what is an organization's purpose? What is their reason for being? Which I'm going to talk about later, about how purpose, the model of purpose has developed. It's also not CSR. It's not about simply doing good in the world. It's about connecting the DNA of your organization to doing good in the world. So it's not about fundraising for some charity if it's got nothing to do with your business. It's about knowing what your business is, why the world would suffer if your organization wasn't in the world. Why would the world miss your organization? And we've come up with quite a few criteria about what purpose should be for an organization. First of all, it is customer related. It's about putting yourself in the customer's shoes. It's aspirational, it's motivational, and it's inspiring. Both for the customer, for external stakeholders, but also internally for your talent. It's enduring. And we're going to be talking about different purpose statements soon. But purpose is enduring. Products come and go. Leaders die. Methods change. But a true purpose can be the same now as it is in 100 years' time. There's certainly a social or human consideration to it, and it's not mutually exclusive to profit. In fact, I hope that what I'm going to show you is that by adopting purpose can actually improve profit and revenue. It's also practical. We've gone through years in organizations looking at values, which I'll talk again about later, but sometimes they've been a little too impractical and perhaps not sincere. So authenticity is critical for purpose. It sets a guide, it sets standards about how to behave and how to decide what to do, and perhaps more importantly, what not to do. And it's scalable, and it goes across generations, it goes across regions and borders and boundaries. It's immediately accessible to everyone involved. So those are some of the criteria for purpose. And increasingly, organizations are developing their purpose, articulating it, and embedding it in their organization. And here are a few examples of purpose statements. Just wondering in the room, can anyone see what these purpose statements might have in common?
They're all human-led, right? So it's a human impact.
Yeah.
So it's the imprint that they're having on the wider world, right?
On society, on mankind. Yeah. I'm going to use, for now, I'm going to use Unilever. And as an example, Paul Polman, the CEO, commissioned a fascinating piece of research in 2016, comparing their purpose-led brands like Dove and Hellmann's for some reason, purpose-led brands with the non-purpose-led brands, and found that the purpose-led brands, which are far fewer than the non-purpose-led brands, accounted for 60% of their growth and grew at 50% times faster than the non-purpose-led brands. So there's an example of how purpose emotionally connects with consumers, with talent, to result in growth and revenue. Of course, Body Shop, we all know, brilliant statement, enrich, not exploit. Very simple, provides the decision-making about what to do, what not to do, and I think very famous for being able to, known for sourcing their ingredients in the right way, in a fair way, and therefore attracting consumer loyalty. Something that is so difficult to get in today's society. Kind of important to know where purpose stands when there are so many other statements in organizations. So I just want to quickly cover the differences between these four types of statements. So purpose is the why. It's future-looking, it's aspirational, it's external. It focuses on the customer. Values is internal. It's not future, it's based on how employees should behave now, and actually has received quite negative press over the last few years because, first of all, it doesn't differentiate between organizations. I'm exaggerating a bit, but I think every set of values I've seen does have integrity in it that's not very well defined. And the idea of emblazoning it on mugs or plastering on posters and expecting that to somehow change everyone's behavior seems, should we call it naive? And then we have mission. Mission is about what an organization does, what business it's in. So again, it's current. It is externally focused, it's not aspirational. And then vision, that is aspirational, it's what the organization wants to be doing in the future. So one of the main differences between purpose and the other three is actually customer focused or consumer focused. It's about understanding what the consumer needs. And it's about doing good in society. So just to emphasize the point, I'm going to go to Disney and its mission statement, what it does to be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information, etc., etc., etc. That's what it does. Why does it do it? To create happiness. And even if you go to a road sweeper in Disney, each road sweeper needs to know every character and their backstory in Disney. And they need to make sure everything is clean. Why? Because if a child asks about a character and they don't know the answer, that magic will be broken. If the place isn't tidy and clean, then that magic is broken. So that purpose underpins everyone's role at Disney, and it brings them together. It's kind of like a glue. And that glue is very important because organizations are shifting and changing quickly. This is how organizations used to be. Hierarchical, top-down, decisions made at the top. It took a long time for those decisions to trickle down through the organization. But the new what we call in our organisation the new world of work, the way that work is changing, shifting, and still set to accelerate, means that this type of structure no longer works. Hierarchies are being dismantled, silos are crumbling, so that organisations are becoming more fluid. Now, research is showing that if this is managed correctly, then companies are more transparent, individuals have greater accountability, and critically, they are more agile and responsive to unanticipated demands, challenges, and opportunities. To work in that environment, skills are important, of course, but also mindset is important, but that's a conversation for another time. What is important, though, is purpose, a shared sense of purpose, because everyone in this new type of organisation needs to be empowered to make decisions, to make the right decisions, to know what to do and what not to do. And that all stems from purpose. So purpose feeds into standards of behaviour, feeds into culture, and feeds into leadership at all levels of the organisation, as Peter referred to. So, in terms of selling purpose into your organisation, what's important? Well, the business benefits. And from the research I've done, there are three main business benefits. First of all, is money, revenue and profit. Over the long term, greater consumer loyalty, greater results in greater profit. And indeed, there is research to show that consumer loyalty improves. And there is greater attraction for talented individuals. In fact, there's a really interesting piece of research by a company called Global Tolerance that shows that 62% of millennials would choose to work for an organisation that has purpose at its core, that has social purpose. In fact, more and more talented graduates applying for roles are asking, what's your purpose? Much to the dismay of the interviewer who can't answer it. 50% of those people interviewed by Global Tolerance said that they would take a salary cut so they could work for a purposeful organisation. And that research has been replicated for the older generation, for middle managers, who need a greater sense of meaning in life. And whilst I'm talking about meaning, don't try to help people find happiness in work. Happiness is fleeting, it's an emotion. There's no point in trying to help people find happiness at work. However, find meaning at work, that is a great thing to have. And in fact, there's a brilliant piece of research just published last year in the Journal of Vocational Behaviour. The first piece of research by a psychologist called Blake Allen that shows that if people do work that gives to other people, they have more meaning in their job. They're more likely to find it engaging. So, the three benefits are money, loyalty, and talent attraction. I think most organisations would like that. And just to highlight the point, some research recently compared purpose-driven organisations with those that aren't purpose-driven. And over the long term, repeated research has shown that there are business benefits, and purpose-led organisations are more likely to weather recessions. As a case study, I'd like to introduce you to what KPMG did. KPMG wanted to find out what it was to be great at KPMG. So they aimed to collect 10,000 stories of what it was to be great at KPMG from their employees. They actually ended up with over 40,000 stories from 29,000 employees. They came up with their purpose statement, which is about empowerment and inspiration. What they found, though, after they then ran training sessions with their managers and leaders about using purpose with their direct reports, is that the managers who used purpose, who couched what they did in terms of a greater purpose, found that their direct reports were 30 to 50% points higher in terms of how proud they were at work, how inspired they were in work, how more likely they were to do development activities, and how they performed better at work. As a result, KPMG jumped up 17 places in the Fortune 100 list of best companies to work for. So that's an example of how KPMG has developed purpose. And there's one critical thing here about that story, is that their purpose didn't come from the board, who wordsmithed with some consultants what their purpose statement should be, because purpose needs to be discovered. It's already there. It just needs to be discovered, articulated, and embedded. So what they did is adopt a grassroots approach, asking their employees what it was. So everyone is bought into it. So authenticity is everything, and you can't fake it. Here's another example, seventh generation, a US company working in detergents. And they want to make sure that they're looking after the next 7 generations. So, purpose is not about short-term gain. It's about actually deciding perhaps not to have that short-term gain if it goes against your purpose. And so they chose to take away their line of dryer paper for tumble dryers, and encouraging their customers to use washing lines. As a result, greater consumer loyalty. Profits went up. Now, I'd like to compare that with what's called Dieselgate, Volkswagen. Volkswagen, they were known for being concerned about the environment, for their catalytic converters, had great consumer loyalty, and we all know what happened there. They are still trying to get out of that hole that they've dug, as well as all the fines they've had to pay for. Their very loyal customer base has moved away. So, this is the power and the fragility of purpose. It is very powerful, but you have to stick to it, and you have to shout it out, and you have to make the right decisions, because if you go against it, then your credibility very quickly falls apart. So, identifying and incorporating purpose. You can't just have purpose in a vacuum. It has to be within the context of business, obviously. And recent purpose models have developed quite a lot, as they often do when it's become popular. And one of the models comes from the Japanese called Ikigai. And Ikigai is about the reason for being, and very much comes into purpose. And the purpose model is you have to love it. The world needs it. That's the good that society does. You have to be good at it. And you need to be paid for it. Obviously, you need to be a business, and you need to make profit. However, if in your organization you can go back and identify these 4 things, then you can find your purpose. And if you can find your purpose, then you can roll that out and you can shout about it loud and proud. So in the organisation, what is critical is once you've found your purpose, you need to align it with processes. Very interesting to think about how your organisation is structured, what the metrics are, and how that might change if you base it on purpose. And of course, you have to engage the people with purpose, as we discussed with the KPMG model. And improving the process and the people processes results in greater customer results, loyalty, and profit. And then that, of course, all comes down then as well to branding, which Andy's going to be talking about in a moment. So starting your purpose journey. Shift the dialogue from profit to purpose. And this is a bit of a teaser. We're not talking about embedding purpose today, but this is a bit of teaser perhaps for the next session. Shifting the conversation, emphasizing the long-term view. Purpose doesn't really work in the short term, but organizations do want to stay in the long term. And interestingly, Unilever, the CEO, Paul Pullman, has actually, much to the dismay of the markets, has stopped quarterly reports on performance because he feels that that gets in the way of the long-term view of purpose. Make sure your metrics are aligned, so every leader knows what the purpose is and how to own it and how to couch it in all their conversations. And here's the thing, you can wordsmith as much as you want what your purpose statement is, but I would argue that the conversation is more important than the articulation. Every big decision needs to be vetted against purpose and shout out about it loud and proud. Certainly, recent research has shown that the organisations that have adopted purpose but it hasn't worked out is because they're not showing the evidence for it with their customers and consumers and with the market. So make sure there's impact and it's not hollow.